Hey guys, just Haytham here, chilling on my perch, enjoying the sunny day. Hopefully recording a few videos in batch, unless a tech problem arises, but I'm sure that's bound to happen, it's YouTube. but I've been thinking about recently, with the new year approaching, and I saw a Pac-Man case video that is good, about should you collect in 2020. He made some arguments playing devil's advocate on why you shouldn't game collect in 2020. However, that video got me thinking, about game collecting, its future, the state of it right now in 2020. It's a weird time for game collecting in 2020, if I'm being honest. A certain pandemic has totally changed what I would have said to this a while back before the pandemic. Because there's been some weird things happening with game collecting that I haven't seen talked about, with the prices and stuff. Because we always hear about rising prices, and I'm aware that prices are rising on GameCube and stuff, and I'll get to that. However, while we do hear about prices rising, and again, I will get to the rising prices because that certainly is happening, prices have actually been falling on certain systems, and interestingly enough, like the Nintendo Entertainment System for so long, and when I got into game collecting, that was like the peak, like that's the expensive one, that's the console everyone's going for. The Nintendo Entertainment System holds the relevancy in game collecting, and obviously you had your more boutique systems. Neo Geo and stuff was, the most expensive. No, barely anyone's buying that. The Nintendo Entertainment System was, the top dog, the thing you always heard about is game collecting. However, it hit its peak a few years ago, actually, and the average price has been going down, and like those rare expensive games on there aren't selling. I think it's a change in game collecting that we haven't seen talked about, except Pat the Nespunk on his podcast has made there's a lot of great clips where he's talked about it. The Nintendo Entertainment System's prices are falling. People aren't completing, they aren't going for complete sets anymore. So definitely that's changed the price. Rare games that aren't good, it seemed like they got their price back in the mid 2010s from people going for complete sets at like the hype around the Nintendo Entertainment System, but those days are gone. And I actually think the hype around game collecting is dying, and I kind of feel like game collecting hit its peak and is starting to wane in relevancy. And and I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing per se, actually, which I'm going to get into today with prices. Now, as I said, I would address the rising prices. GameCube games are rising. Now, the Nintendo first-party games have always been expensive, but they've definitely shot up due to the pandemic. And the pandemic has shot up prices across the board for so much game collecting. It makes it really tricky because I think, or at least the logic I've heard from game shop owners is that people are just looking to get their hands on any game they can. People will be like, do you have a Wii in stock? No. Do you have a Super Nintendo in stock? No. Do you have a NES in stock? Yes. We'll take that. People will take anything they can get their hands on, which is crazy. People are going down generations until they can get something. I don't know if that's still the case now, but at the beginning of the pandemic, there was just so much worry about it, and I remember that too. I didn't buy up games or anything, but nobody knew where this was going to go at the beginning. I remember I work at a grocery store chain. I remember in the beginning it was like factory just announced they're not sending any more toilet paper, and then I thought, oh shit, I better grab at least one of what's left. Like, who knows where this can go. Products were disappearing from the shelf. Empty shelves caused panic, which caused more empty shelves. Obviously, as you know, lockdown was beginning. Was just learning about the virus, and it was a real time. America had not experienced something like this since the Spanish flu. So nobody really knew how to address the situation, and again, I'm not trying to get into the pandemic. It is relevant to today's video, because it has undeniably affected prices. So while people were panicking and nobody really knew where this pandemic was going to go, right at the beginning, people started panic buying not only toilet paper and food and medicine and sanitizing products, they also started buying up entertainment, which is why companies like Amazon's profits are soared through the roof in recent times. That and a few other reasons, but this affected games too. Even game collecting shops, retro gaming shops, eBay, this all got affected. People started panic buying consoles, including retro consoles. So suddenly, a game store might, on average, have 5 GameCubes. One comes in, one goes out. Suddenly all 5 are gone. And when the guy comes in wanting the GameCube and it's gone, he jumps back to any Nintendo console he can get. Or maybe he got the PS2 or something. This is a trickle effect that carries on. And now we see the prices super high during the pandemic. Again, especially, it seems to... it's affected all consoles. I'm sure the NES has even gotten affected to a degree. Although it's the NES, so many people already have what they want. So we've seen this trickle effect causing raising prices. So the pandemic has thrown a wrench in what I would have said had I made this video a different time. So it's hard to say exactly because I just don't know what the state of the pandemic's going to be. Obviously, it's going to lead into 2021 undeniably. I mean, the year is rapidly approaching, and sorry for anyone watching this after 2021. This video will feel extremely dated, but I would say if the pandemic carries on like it is now, and game collecting prices stay crazy like they are now, because of the pandemic, I will give you this advice. Now, my recommendation overall is yes, you should still get into game collecting. That's gonna be my recommendation, but I will say, just know, a lot of the games and systems all gonna come down, but I understand you don't want to wait until who knows when that'll happen. But just know, your game, a lot of these will come down in price, but, hell, if a game's $20 up, I mean, if you want that game for entertainment, you're locked down, or you just want that game for fun, an extra $20 isn't going to break the bank. Just be aware that these things are going to go down. If you're willing to spend that money, that's perfectly fine. Just be aware. I want you to be aware. But game collecting is one of those hobbies. I think there's a lot of benefits to it. Obviously, there's negativity to it and little things here and there. But I still think the hobby, while waning in relevance, it's still a good hobby. I still recommend it. Look, prices have been crazy for so long that we just got to accept this. I think game collecting, the way people approached it, was a lot unhealthy back in the day. I think the mindset towards game collecting has actually gotten a lot healthier, and I think the community is becoming healthier, because I think what's happened is that people have given up on buying full sets, and the excitement around game collecting and the mystique and the fervor around it has died down, which is actually a good thing. 5, 6 years ago, and starting really in like 2012 when it really started picking up and getting, the ball started rolling. It was just this big hype. Tons of people coming in, tons of resellers, lots of money being thrown around, game prices expensive, people going for full sets, people buying tons of games they don't care about anymore. I think that time has changed. It's gotten a lot healthier now. People like, and I apologize if I'm misrepresenting your, where you're coming from or anything. But Iowa Retro Gamer Dad, a friend of mine, fellow YouTuber, he was recently talked about, selling off games and stuff that he's just not going to play. Selling off consoles he's never playing or hooking up. And I think that I've seen that mindset replicated a lot in the game collecting community. I think people are at the point now where it's like, people are really paring down what they're not collecting anymore. Or what they're not playing anymore in their collection. People aren't buying games that they aren't gonna play. So I think game collecting right now, the dying down of the excitement around it has actually led to a healthy hobby that I think if you play it small, you can get in, and there's still a lot of games that are cheap. They aren't gonna break the bank. Honestly, at the end of the day, you gotta collect what you're gonna play. if you have a modern day console, an Xbox One, a PS4, a Switch, I guess, although those prices never seem to come down. Honestly, don't even worry about collecting Nintendo from the 80s and stuff. You can get to that later. You can be a game collector and only focus on buying games today. Honestly, there's a lot of value with buying games that are a few years old. You can get 40-hour, 50-hour AAA games for less than $20 now. So, and that's game collecting too. As long as it's a physical video game, that's game collecting. You gotta remember, game collecting is everything from the 70s before Nintendo Entertainment System up until now, and however long physical game copies last. So I think I'd recommend getting into it. It's a healthy hobby now. It's gotten healthier, and honestly, it's gonna be what you make it. It's gonna be fun if you make it fun. Play it smart. Understand that prices are weird right now, but yeah, just play it smart. And honestly, a big part of game collecting is the community as well, and that community is still there. Now is the time to do it. And plus, I will leave you on this. I know also game collectors may disagree with me. Personally, I believe game collecting will die. I believe game collecting is on the slow but existent downward slope to it becoming like train collecting. Well, back in the day, train hobbyists and like people who collected train toys and stuff, it was a huge thing at one point. Big thing. Now I'm sure they had giant conventions of that back in the day. Now it's a very, very small thing, only carried by a few people. I think game collecting will hit that point again. So if you want to be part of the community, now's the time to do it, because it ain't going to get any better than now when it comes to community. But the prices are probably going to get better from now as people lose interest, supply and demand. So right now what you have is you have the community aspect dying, which is a negative, but you have the prices going down, which is a positive. So it seems like now would be the time to jump on it. And hope this wasn't too rambly. I just wanted to give people like... Pac-Man Case brought up a lot of good points, and he had a list of like good structured points to bring up, so I'd recommend checking him out. I'll link that video I'm talking about in the description. This I just want to give you more of like a mindset, like just a rambly thing to maybe help develop your mindset on the topic. Anyway, I am Haytham Gruxton, and I hope everyone's having a great 2021. Yeah, if you are interested, and I hate to be this type, but I would very much appreciate, obviously like and subscribe, super appreciative, but a comment. Comments is what I really do value. And I make a variety of content on game collecting, retro gaming, video games in general, and even non-gaming stuff. Yeah, check it out.